Hi, and welcome to Rockin' Beards. I am Greg Hamilton,
And this is HSR.
and today we're going to be reviewing the album 8 by Incubus, which
Which incidentally is their 8th album in their discography.
what are the chances of that? Holy shit.
So Greg, tell us about how you first encountered Incubus in your life. You're older than me, so it's likely.
Yes.
Like
I'm
you're
around my late teens, early 20s. I mean, it's when Incubus started playing on the radio. Now there was that not the first album. I don't think the first album anyone knew about, but the second one that came out was played heavily on.
Is that the one with Drive?
I'm not entirely sure. What's the discography?
I don't
What's the
know.
second one called? But I remember looking today and being like, okay, yes, that's the album I know.
Okay. I don't know. I know Drive. I know Megalomaniac. I know
Science.
Anomaly.
Science. It
And
was science.
I'd say I know its singles more than I've never listened to an Incubus.
Oh, it's the same.
album
It's the same
before.
thing with me. I listened to it on the radio. It's not a band that I went out of my way to listen to, but it is one of those bands that in the early 2000s, like they're just like all these bands came out with a
Well,
kind
they
of
were,
similar
like-
feel and similar, like they were all weird in the same way. I guess is a way to describe it.
I feel like they just sometimes wrote some shit that just stuck with you, and when you heard it, like they would occasionally write like 10 on 10 bangers.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
go check out other stuff, and it wouldn't stand up next to what got the radio play. This is my experience, but I would have to go like check it out again now as a grown up to really appreciate it, maybe. But this was the first Incubus album I really did, and I don't know. It was we'll get into the experience in a bit, but I don't know. They're just never significant. I know.
I gotta admit, right off the bat, not a huge fan of Incubus.
Fair enough.
In fact, just hearing the word Incubus kind of annoys me because I had this buddy who loved them back in the day, and he would just we'd go driving around and he would just loop their albums, and you get so sick of hearing it. To be honest with you, it's nothing against them. It's just it's so played
It's
out,
like an acquired
and you've heard
taste.
everything 1,000 times.
Yeah, no. I think when you hear sometimes you hear a song on the radio often can kill songs, and that sounds like Incubus was killed by a friend in the car.
So
What did you think of the title of this album? 8?
The number of this album,
Yeah.
I guess
There
that's really, eighth album. Call it 8.
I
do you got?
couldn't find anything deeper. I briefly looked into it, and then I just got a comment on the cover art. Like, this doesn't look like a lot of effort was put into it. It just kind of looks like something a graphic design agency whipped together, and Incubus was kind of old and said, "Yeah, that looks cool."
Well, I don't know. If you look at the album cover, it looks pretty standard for what you'd expect for an Incubus album. Just like some kind of fancy writing, their logo, and some kind of design. I mean, sometimes the design is really, really
Okay, to be fair, I've never
elaborate. And we can
never-
pause for a second if you want to go look at the albums.
looked at their other album covers. I'm gonna say that this one does still, in fact, look a little bit lazy to me.
It's
compared-
basic. It's
Maybe-
just. I mean.
I feel like, to be fair, the album had more complexity than this album title, believe it or not, and or the cover and the title. The title's kind of shit too. I'm not a fan of it, either of them, but whatever. That's not really the music inside of it. I don't know. Do you have thoughts on this?
On this particular album?
Yeah, the cover.
Well,
the title.
I mean, the cover itself, it's basic. I mean, look at Metallica, like the Black Album. Like Beatles, a White Album. Like
yeah, but the Black Album had
Weezer,
like
the Green Album, the Blue Album, the Red Album.
But,
Like
the
it's
band is on it or something, and in the Black Album there's that little scorpion that's kind of hidden if you like kind of move it a little bit. And
I mean, there's
Just-
nothing against simplicity. People do
Okay.
it all the time. I can't really fault them for just doing it.
All right, screw it. Let's get into the album. So the first song is called No Fun. Greg, what did you think of this song?
Well, it was pretty much exactly what I would expect to hear from them 20 years ago. It's the exact same sound. It's the exact same. There's very little difference between what they're doing now and what they did 20 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, it's so rare to see that. I mean, we talked about that in the Bush review. We talked about that in like
No, you're right.
the AFI review. We talked about it like all these bands that have been around for like 20 years, and they just like they keep changing their sound. Incubus is exact same. They haven't modified their shit at all.
It was good music, I have to say. Like the actual guitar riffs and the drums and the bass, all of that was fine. It had like, okay, so it had like the two main riffs, like the chorus riff, and it had the guitar riff, and then it had the surprise thing on this album that I wasn't expecting at first. It had the Skrillex part. Now maybe there's always been what I'm calling the Skrillex part on like previous albums, but I haven't really listened to a lot of them. But this is where Skrillex, who was mixed the guy who mixed the entire album, seemed to add a little bit of the dubstep-y kind of electronic effects to like this little bridge about 2/3 of the way through.
Incubus has always had like I guess let's call it a DJ or something like attached to them, like some kind of like experimental or sound engineer type guy who really plays with the sound and adds like those electronic effects and stuff. So it's not. You know, it's exactly the sound you'd expect to hear from Incubus, because they've been doing this. They've been doing this the entire time, as opposed to like I usually go to. You never want to hear laser sounds in a Nirvana song, because Nirvana wasn't about the laser sounds, but Incubus is all about the laser sounds. So have at it. Let's bring on the laser sounds.
It wasn't really bad. My grievance with this was the lyrics of this song. So yeah, my grievance of this was the lyrics of this song. I know that, like, in other genres, what they're saying isn't so important, but it was super crisp and clear, as you had pointed out off camera earlier. And I don't know, man. This felt so fucking whiny and bad to me. Like,
I mean,
it just sounded.
The blender effect is already in effect.
Right. Like,
I mean, honestly, we talk about the blender effect all the time.
This is where a bunch of shit like starts to sound the same already.
Yeah, it blends in with just the rest of the stuff on the album. But in this case, their sound has not changed at all. Like, you could just easily run two of their albums on the same playlist and not know which one is which album, you know?
I never really had that experience, so for me it was really just, okay, what's he got to say? And what did I write here?
Well, there's a definite difference. You can listen to like a Weezer song from Pinkerton and a Weezer song from the Blue Album. You'll know which is which. There's no question of that. But this, Incubus, no, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that with this song. You throw the song in with any one of their other albums and it would blend right in.
Yeah, I don't know. He just kind of whined, and I didn't really like it. And his voice, what is it? I wrote his name down because I wanted to call him by Brandon Boyd. Mr. Boyd had a voice that I had trouble listening to in great frequency on this album, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's something that definitely stood out to me when I first heard Incubus, like 20 some odd years ago.
No, like when he hits right, I really like it. Like, there's a couple Incubus tracks that I've had on my like playlist over life for forever, because they've been really good songs. But this one, it just hurt a little bit. I give this a 7 unit of measurements on 10 because I had a lot of trouble getting into it. It's not poor, but really there's nothing great about it. It's just like you were saying, it's a standard, almost cookie cutter, fucking exactly what it's supposed to be song. So to be fair, 7. What did you give it, and what is the unit of measurement, Greg?
Oh my god. Well, Incubus, like we're talking about incubators.
Okay.
So let's talk about wee babies.
All right, so 7 wee babies.
I would give this 6 wee babies.
Okay, so that was no fun. Do you have more to add on this, man?
I mean that you're a lot through the rest of the album, because their sound does not change.
Well,
There's no distinction.
I got my ups and downs on different songs, so there's a few notes.
Oh yeah,
to
at the individual level, yeah. But I'd have to give this 6 wee babies, because right off the bat, I'm already not. I don't know if there's a distinct sound to this album. We haven't found it yet.
All right, so let's talk about some Nimble Bastard.
This is a much better song in my opinion. I really enjoyed this one.
I completely agree with you.
High energy, kicked it.
Holy shit!
You know, this is. I don't know. I like this.
If I'm not mistaken,
high energy got me. It's like wakes you up in the morning. You don't necessarily need the coffee.
It's really cool. It's the lead single off the album, if I'm not mistaken, and it is great. Like if like No Fun hadn't existed and it had started with Nimble Bastard, like I'd have a completely different expectation for what was to come. So perhaps hearing No Fun first really like geared me up for a great song, and The video, Greg. We got to talk about.
Well,
the video
it was
for
just
a
the
second.
cutest darn thing you've ever seen.
So
It was. You know what? Just go watch it because
No,
there's
no.
nothing like a pug with a rocket launcher
Well, you
strapped to
saw
its
it.
back to make you smile.
So yeah, the video is like that. For those who don't want to watch it or whatever, quick short version. One of the guys is like late, and then his dog escapes, and then the dogs turn into secret agents trying to kill Incubus, and then Incubus turns into Incubus with cat heads, and they beat the dogs, and it's so awkward and cute. And if you partake in certain things, you'll really love it, and if you don't, you'll think it's really stupid. And it's the strangest video I've seen since the channel started. And
I mean that Grim Reaper thing back on the what was it, the
Orwell.
whatever, yeah, there's some Grim Reaper video we talked about recently.
No, but it's not the same thing as this level
It's
of
just
fucking
it's weird. It's
This is like the kind of shit you expect from Japan, kind of weird.
at some points there is some cringe in there. You gotta say there's definitely a few cringe moments in the video.
But the song's great.
Oh, it's a great song.
And it comes
Absolutely.
in like pumping, like dun 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 dun, and like one of those good riffs that comes in. He starts singing.
It's just a chorus for me. It's just like one of those choruses, like anthem-y, you know, like.
Yeah, but then even the Skrillexy part fits this song a lot better than it did in the No Fun. It didn't feel so out of place and forced. The flow is fucking fantastic. And the song had like a point to it, right? So what he's talking about here is the Nimble Bastard is the type of dude who or lady who is capable of fucking bouncing back from like anything, like regardless to what shit circumstances happen. He's a nimble bastard who can like get to the next level and persevere in times. And Mr. Brandon here, Bradley or whatever his name is, let me double check. Brandon here is kind of envious of this dude's ability to do this, where he has this failing. And that's actually the kind of depth I expect from Incubus, from the few songs I've like heard over the years that really captivated me. And it helped a lot, and it made me really fucking like this track. I give it an 8.5 on 10.
8.5?
It's not like a fucking next level stellar banger. It's not like approaching like immortal status. It's not a highlight of their career.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really well constructed, good song. It's not 9 worthy. It's definitely not a 10.
Yeah, definitely not.
But it's also not just like an 8. It's not just good. It's somewhere in between good and great. And I don't know what would have made it better. I can't think of anything in particular, but I don't know. It just, even the subject matter could have maybe been delivered differently, something else to it. But the way it was still felt kind of standard, but a lot better than the previous track. What'd you give it?
No, I have to go ahead and give it 8 wee babies.
Okay.
It was a good song. I enjoyed it, but I mean, this is probably the only one on the album that I would really add to my collection, I guess.
I had a couple of these different experiences later on that I enjoyed, but
I'm totally Incubus. Just like, I don't know, makes me uber skeptical. Just because I
all right.
Just the band itself.
So what about if we move on a little bit to state of the art? Have that look on your face.
Yeah, this is going to be the next single. This is going to be the one.
Actually, he says that, but it just dropped
Oh,
as the next single.
I'm telling you right now. And this is going to be playing at the end of a Disney movie within the next 6 months. This shit is
awesome.
This is
so good.
This is what they're going to be playing at us in our cars for the next 2 years.
I'm okay with this
so
one.
we're annoyed with it.
It made me feel
I'm just
so
telling
good.
you right now.
It made me feel so good, Greg.
It's going to be at the end of the next Lion King 4.
So
take Sahara back by force. I don't know whatever the fucking thing's going to be called.
I had this conversation with my accountant discussing technology and just stuff like using paper to do your taxes versus, which is his preference, to using TurboTax to do your taxes, which is what he has to do. Mm-hmm. And then I heard this song right after, and this song kind of epitomized that conversation for me. And I find a lot, having worked in technical support and shit, that there is a definite age divide out there for the older folk who didn't really grow up with technology, and they're trying to fit into this modern world. And from his old man perspective of his early 40s or whatnot, I can see how he's having trouble remaining quote-unquote state-of-the-art, even regardless of the quality of his music, just because social media is probably harder for him and his people. And then he's looking at all these flashy people who are doing anything they can to stay relevant, to stay state-of-the-art. And lyrically, this shit was pretty fucking tight. I really appreciated it. And the weird wishy-washy anthem Disney feeling you're describing, it really...
I mean, you can tell when something is made to be marketed. I don't know. It's just
but I'm okay with it in this case. Like,
commercial debt.
Look, I'd rather have something like this be marketed at me and actually be a cool song about something that's kind of relatable, like, you know, than the opposite of having to deal with, like, really shit versions of what this could have been. I like this a lot. It hit me right in the right ways for, like, this is the kind of shit I want to listen to when I'm copying and pasting at work and shit. I get this a 9. I really fucking like this jam.
Oh, really? I mean, I can tell this is fluff.
It's good fluff.
The whole album might be fluff, but this song is definitely fluff.
Oh, it's good fluff.
I mean,
it's better fluff than no fun. No fun was bad fluff. This is fluff that had some substance to it.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree. I'm going to have to go ahead. I'm going to say a generous 7 wee babies for this guy.
That's okay. I am. Whatever. We can... if you want, we can move on to another fucking single. So that's 3 singles in a row.
Oh, great! Let me guess. It's just some sparkly piece of crap, right?
Like a Glitterbomb.
Oh no, I saw that coming.
This song was fluffy. Now, if you want to say how the other one was fluffy, I'd say this one was fluffy. It was definitely made to be a single. I didn't really catch what it's about. I felt it was kind of corny. And yeah, it was simple.
And I kind of feel like we're going to be seeing this, you know, when the credits roll during the 3rd Lego movie or whatever. You know, like it's going to be. I mean, is that where Incubus is going?
Maybe.
Are they going to be the most marketable thing on the planet for the next
year? Maybe they're just like, that Disney money's worth going for.
That Disney money.
Probably fucking solid.
Give us. By the way, Disney, if you're listening. We are totally willing to sell out and do whatever you want.
No, for real. Maybe we'll consider it.
No,
but
I totally am. I'll do it.
When I worked at a video store, side note, we would look at the price that we at the video store had to pay the company to get the movie, and everything was like $12 to like rent out these movies per like disc, and Disney exclusively was $28. And so in most cases, video stores lost money per like disc on every Disney title because you had to have like 50 of them. Otherwise, you got fucked over. It was fuck up. Disney's not the nicest company.
No shit.
I digress.
No, you don't say.
I digress.
Not like they had any unpopular views or anything in the 30s or 40s. It didn't happen.
Okay, let's say that the current Disney's whatever. I don't know. This song didn't have a lot for me to add to it. It kind of is like the same as the last couple, except softer, if that could be said, and a little more electronic-y.
I mean, I get that. It's once again, it's standard Incubus. Haven't heard the sound change.
Yeah, no, sorry.
In a while.
Sorry if this isn't such in depth, but Incubus did not give us much to work with.
That's very true. I mean, if you don't believe us, go check out the album. And this is not even necessarily.
Look, if you really like the Incubus sound, you're gonna probably feel this in a way. And you're going to be the ones hating on us on the comments below.
If you like Incubus, okay?
It's dope.
This is... And, okay. I can appreciate that a band does not change their sound at all. But if I didn't like the original sound, just as a personal choice...
I feel like the mixing and the sound engineer and adding in like Skrillex kind of added a certain modernization to the sound. I want to say that this, to me, it felt like a bit of...
That's another sign that it's fresh for marketability. I mean...
Absolutely. That I would agree with. But it did... Look, it made me like this song more, actually. Because it did kind of feel like a throwback tune, but modernized to have been able to be possibly have come out today, right? It has a lot of the pop elements that were really vibing in the last little while, but mixed in with that classic sound, and that I appreciated, that part of it. And I gave this an 8 wee babies because I kind of could see myself listening to this. If I want to be completely objective, it's not a bad song by any means. It's just, let's say the hardcore person in me is going, this is fluff, but then like the guy who actually sometimes just sits there and listens to music just for the fuck of it goes, yeah, it's good fluff. I can handle this. Like, it's good fluff.
Once again, I don't know. I just hate being marketed at, and this stuff is, you know, I it's funny that you mentioned their single. I didn't know, but I would have guessed. You can tell. You can just tell.
All right. So it almost
7 Wee Babies.
it almost gives a sense of feeling undefeated.
One was much better than the others. This one actually has like some kind of like individuality about it in relation to the rest of the songs in the album. There's actually like, I don't know. There's just something within it that stands out.
I know what it is, man. This song actually made me think of Body Count, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, no. It was that classic Body Count lyric. I'm calling it a classic now. That they can't fuck with us once they realize we're all on the same side. And the idea that he's trying to go for with, like, you know, we're all kind of going through the same kind of pain and da-da-da-da-da. And if you look into, like, what this song is saying, it's he's broken. He's done all this shit. But at the end of it, he's undefeated. He's able to stand up and kind of blend in with everyone else and unite and, you know, all that same kind of energy that came from just a very different manifestation of it, but the same core idea. And I kind of really felt like this was an anthem of sorts to like make me feel like, you know what, life isn't necessarily all fucked up. It can get better is kind of what I took from this.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really approaching it looking for a message or anything, so I didn't really take one away. But just musically speaking, this is, you know, it's a nice soft rock album anthem.
It's nice.
It definitely has like a kind of like a Pixies feel to it. Definitely, you know, just rings true to those, you know, late 1990s, early 2000s kind of.
I appreciated this. I gave it
even a little earlier. Fuck yeah. I mean, I'm comparing it to the Pixies, so late 80s, early.
Like I was just
90s.
saying, as we were listening to it, I could have pictured Weezer writing something kind of like this with the latest release.
Absolutely.
I gave it an 8.5 on 10 because it didn't really sound that authentic to Incubus per se. Like, I don't know their sound a lot, but it as a standalone piece was pretty nice. Yeah, 8.5. That's a good grade for it.
I'd agree. 8.5 is seems like a fair grade.
All right, man. I don't have a lot more to say on this, but
no, this is not going to be a single. This is too good to be a single.
Fair.
This is going to probably make my Spotify. I don't know why I didn't think of it before.
I think it's one of those ones where it's like the first time you hear it, it kind of sounds weak, but then when I heard it, like I listened to this a couple of times, and by the time I reviewed it, like when I was really paying attention to it, I felt it in a way I didn't feel it on like the first time, and it's really strong. It grows on you in a good way.
Yeah, maybe it's just I don't know. It didn't stand out to me before, but when we sat down and listened and talked about it while we were listening to it, I definitely grew to like it a little bit more.
And yeah, so
sometimes that's all it takes is just sit down and talk about it with somebody instead of just writing your own ideas down.
That's true. That's part of the benefit of being able to review this stuff. I know my opinion's been changed a bunch of times so far. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about Loneliest.
Oh, it's a song about me.
I'm the loneliest I've ever been, that's right.
I feel like this song broke the tone of the album a bit musically. Like it actually sounded different. Than
it did sound different.
It broke up any kind of blender effect.
Well, there's definitely no blender effect involved here, but it's definitely more synthetic than you're used to. I mean, Incubus it's always been a combination of like synthetic sound engineering kind of, you know, tricks and rock music, but this one they really set the rock music aside, and there's not really a whole lot of that. This is very heavy on this end.
So like I noticed something at this point because I kind of was paying attention a bit to the stories. I've just been looking at things like Kendrick Lamar where it's all about stories. So then you come across something like this where if you start to look at the theme, he kind of is telling this story through this album of feeling out of place, right? So we see it a bit earlier where like people around him aren't fun anymore. And then, you know, the technology part, it's advancing, and he's going into feeling like, okay, I can still make it. And here and now that he's there, he's feeling lonely. And this song expresses almost like this lameness to how he's existing. And I felt it was really lame the first time I heard it. And then I was really paying attention, and I almost felt like it's supposed to be this expression of like this lameness he's going through. It's very minimalistic. It's very simple, and he just kind of almost as this like synthetic shit because he has to is what I almost felt with it. And I was like, wow, this seems like some really on purpose shit, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's one of those two things. But it gave me to a 7.5 because I didn't really like this song that much. It was something I had a lot of trouble getting through. But it's not bad.
6 wee babies.
All right. I mean, do you have more to go on this one?
Not really.
Sorry if it feels like we're going quickly. It's just like I said
Never
before.
apologize. It's the band's fault.
Yeah, no. I was looking for things, man, to say about it, but
it's hard. It's very difficult to say.
This is a song about how he feels lonely, and things are like whatever.
Well, which is something I can understand. I mean,
and the way he delivers it is done in a way that makes the music convey loneliness. I got that. I appreciated it. I don't like it that much. 7.5.
Oh, if that's the goal, then 10 on 10.
That's it. Like, do we really evaluate music solely on that? Nah. Part of it is my perception of how much I liked it. So anyway, let's go on to. This is that shit.
I'll never forget the day
when I became a man. Yeah, go for it.
It was 1 a.m, and I was asleep, and I became 18 years old. And then I woke up, and I was 18. That's how I became a man.
Yeah, I guess. This song was fucking weird. Or thing, this interlude, this...
Yeah, I don't even know if this counts as a song, really.
Well, it's there. I rated it because, fuck it, they chose to make it track 7, so it's got a rating. From what I can tell, he goes into the shower and gets laid and becomes a man, and it seemed really aloof written. I'll be honest, it did remind me a little bit of like when the Offspring would do some silly shit in the middle of their album.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I like.
But I didn't like it.
There used to be extra tracks on albums where they're just shit, like on the Dookie album.
Yeah, I was just thinking
alone,
all by myself.
Would you count that? I mean,
so I think that in the case of where it's a hidden track, it's more of a debate, or if it's something like the bonus tracks on like the Extra Blink album or something.
It's like they didn't bother hiding the Easter eggs this year, guys.
That's it. I mean, maybe it was there to be funny or something.
Is it? So I don't even think this really counts as a song, to be honest with you. I mean, this is something we're gonna have to talk about because we actually got into this a little bit last night. When we were recording the Headspace
So I'm going to say that it counts as a fucking track in this case, solely because they don't try to manifest it like a skit or something, which you can do. They just stuck it here with a track name, and they put actual writing. There's music to it. It is a fucking 57-second weird, aloof song. It's not like a skit where, trust me, there's a difference between skits and songs, and this is just a really short, goofy song.
I don't know. Would you count Together on the Sand by NoFX a fucking...
I don't know it.
A hidden track? Like, they're songs, but they're ridiculous little dick and fart songs.
But that's fair.
I don't even know if this would really count.
I would still say they chose to put this in the middle of their album, right? So this is track 7. Seconds. And that's it, but they put it there. It doesn't matter the length of the song. NoFX does
It's not necessarily track 7. It's a sound file 7.
But at this point, they presented it as though it is song 7, and as a result of that, I'm gonna go ahead and. I don't think
that necessarily means that it technically counts as part of the album.
Well, it definitely counts as part of the album.
No, because if I got in there, like if we recorded an album together, and between song 3 and song 4, there was a little thing like, hey, don't you love eating Go-Gurt? Yeah, I love Go-Gurt. Let's eat some Go-Gurt. And that's just us doing a little stupid inside joke.
As a person,
it doesn't count.
So if you're looking at it from an album,
but I don't know if it counts.
Absolutely does. If you're looking at it from an album creating perspective, this was a deliberate choice to add this 57 thing, and it sounds like a song. It just sounds like a goofy break in the album. Now, a lot of people probably love this shit. I personally don't. I think it kills albums when people do this.
I think they're allowed to do it.
I think they're totally allowed to do it. But because they're allowed to do it, I think I'm allowed to grade it like a song because they chose to put it there. They chose to do it. I'm reviewing the album as it's presented to me. They didn't put skit. They didn't put interlude. They didn't put one of the words like many other people have done, and especially rap, where there's fucking skits on half the albums that exist. Where it's not like this is clipped into the end of another song or something where we could debate if it... No, this is a fucking song. You can plus this shit on Spotify all by itself. It's not like the other types of shits. I would say it's a track.
But if you were to pull up, like, let's say the Offspring album that we were talking about before, Smash, there's a little thing at the end of the album. I bet you that would count as a track.
I don't know.
Just like this one does, and I don't think we would count that little fucking silly thing.
Yeah,
as,
but okay, just to counter that, we just reviewed Snoop Doggy Dogg's Doggy Style, and what they did was they included them within other songs, right? So they weren't actually identified as songs, and it becomes a choice the artist makes. So how they've chosen to distribute the music to
like
they have this choice, man.
in a case where let's take that case.
Let's say I've made an album. And this was a choice I had to make on how to deliver these types of things. I could have added my skits as parts of songs. I said, no, Mr. Sound Engineer, I want to make it so that people can skip over my skits and let's make them their own individual tracks. And in the description, I put in the parentheses whether it was an intro or blah, blah, blah. And I identified these aren't really songs. They're little breaks in the album. So given that I've gone through a process similar to that, I'm going to say Incubus had fucking full control 100% over how they delivered this.
Bring. Oh, hello? Yes, Mr. Green Day. We have this song. We're transferring everything to digital platforms now, and we need to know if you want I Was Alone attached to the other song.
Yeah, but that's not even contextually the same thing.
That doesn't happen.
But this is different between writing a brand new album in 2017 versus calling back on the 1994 album where you have to question who owns the rights to it. Nah, this is 2017 Incubus, and they wrote the album. This is not the same comparison. This is definitely a track. They chose to make it a song. They could have put in parentheses anything they wanted when they titled it. I guarantee you the band has that level of control over their music, given their fucking Incubus. It's not like we're talking about whatever. And yeah, Billy Joe Armstrong controls that much of his music that it was 100% his choice. He's just that much in control of his shit. I've looked into Green Day recently.
I don't think there's even a decision. I think they just...
Either way, I get it as a 4 because it's a fucking crappy piece of the album I didn't really enjoy. So
yeah, I give it a number sign N/A.
But this was a good debate that ended up making this take like far longer than the actual song, and
that's what Rockin' Beards is about.
All right, so let's go on to an actual fucking song, Familiar Faces.
There were points in this song where it sounded like the guy might have been holding his nose while he was singing, like he had a cold or something, like I do right now. It
just feels so fucking lackluster, man. Like, look, you just had... One thing I can say about the rest of this album so far, effort was put into making all of this music. We were questioning authenticity at best, artistic decisions. But effort was put even into that fucking skit. This song felt like there was almost... maybe it's the point. Maybe Familiar Faces was supposed to sound like this blasé shit because that's how he's feeling. And I do believe that it fits the motif of this story of the album where... At this point, he's been lonely, and then apparently he gets laid in the shower for some reason. And now he's got familiar faces and everything's happening. So, okay, I kind of get it, but you could have done so much better. You've proven that you can sing on this album.
Is that actually there? Like, is that something you just interpreted, or is that something that's like...
I'm saying this story motif I interpreted, but I feel like if you really go back and listen to it and you watch the emotional change over the album, there's a flow to it. And I think that's part of album placement, right? Like, and I think it was almost a little bit, and I think it mostly because of the last song and the way it goes from here and how I felt about that. It kind of pieced together and was like, oh, that makes sense. So for me, it's not an official Incubus has signed off on this theory. This is an HSR theory on why this album might have some actual cool merit as an album, even if some of the songs are kind of flat or whatever. I don't know, it's just my thoughts.
It's definitely very flat.
This song is flat.
It's very repetitive.
There's nothing to it. It adds nothing new. It's more of him feeling like everything's the same. I give it a 6 because it was exactly what it's supposed to be. Added nothing new. Nothing on this album is as bad as this.
I'm gonna go ahead and give this 5 wee babies. This is probably the low point of the album.
It really is. You can skip this if it's your first listen, and you will probably like the album more as a result of it. And I don't even say that like I never feel that negatively. Like I had trouble giving it a 6. That was like me really coming in with objectivity, trying to be fair and shit. But really, like, it was...
I am under no predisposition to be fair to this album.
Nah, it's fucking like, whatever. This song, you can tell they didn't try. I don't know why. The last two just felt like kind of filler, but thankfully it's not the end. I like some stuff coming later on, so... If you're okay with jumping ahead to the next one, we can talk
about love in a time of surveillance.
Woo!
Big Daddy's got your number. Big Daddy's got you dead.
I gotta give big credit to just the fact that they say big data in a song, because that is a term that should be thrown around a little more in a modern era. But otherwise, this song is fucking kind of lame balls, no?
I mean, it's 1984, ladies and gentlemen. It's already here.
And I guess it's like he just realized how scary it is, but yeah, no, he just presents a song where big data is tracking everything and we submit, and then he gets really... I think he just wanted to show off.
Great message, because we're all pretty... We're just shoveling our identities onto the internet for one day.
And it is that scary.
Exploit.
If you want to ever like look into what scary is, the big future of technology is big data, and it is insane. And so I appreciated that a lot, and it's got this kind of, felt like really old-timey minimalist feel to it with some intricate drummings patched in, and I guess it's a lot of people flossing. Like, his vocal talent, his range is like the complete opposite of the last song. He's trying really hard here, and
I felt he was trying really hard on the last song, to be honest with you. Just the chorus, like, he could, like, that note, he couldn't maintain it. Like, it sounded like a dial tone on a telephone.
Yeah, but in this one, he actually did really well, I think, and
I definitely didn't have the annoying qualities of the last one. This one's a little weird, though. It's definitely, if you remember an old 9 Inch Nails, kind of has that kind of bit of quality to it.
That's a good way to put it.
So it definitely stands out in this regard, but I as far as my own personal opinion, it's the background music at a party I went to once, and it was good. I guess
I could never really listen to this again by choice. I would be happy to never hear it again.
Yeah, it would be great background music for a party.
There's just better shit to put on. This would be a lame song in light of it. Fucking anything else on this album I'd have more fun on, except maybe the one right before it at a party. Like, I could deal without this. I give it 7.5 because it did have its interestingness to it, but it wasn't great. I could do without it.
7 wee babies.
Alright, thankfully they changed some shit up a bit here with Make No Sound in the Digital Forest. So this was fucking fantastic. This is the best part of the fucking album, 100%. It is a very well composed instrumental piece with no Brandon singing on it, and the music just shines. The mixing is fantastic. The effects go through it. I was listening to it with my nice Sennheisers. I heard every layer of everything. I was enveloped in it, and when it ended, I actually got a little bit sad. It was the first time on this album I got sad a fucking song ended, and I just had imaginations running. It was perfect. I gave this
it's definitely a trippy little instrumental.
Good.
It has a kind of a, I don't know, I guess. I said a Western feel before when we were listening to it, just because of the
spacey effects and
it.
shit. But I don't know, it's very bass driven. You can really hear the bass pounding, like just strumming along throughout the whole thing. You can hear different eerie effects coming in and out of it. It's ambient in a great way.
Yeah.
I give it a perfect fucking 10.
Oh wow, you went ahead and gave it a 10.
Absolutely. Wow. I plussed it. It's the only song I plussed on my first listen on this fucking album. I really see the merit in it. I'm like, get rid of the singing, because we were often dealing with the singing, and get rid of the lyrics. Give me nothing to listen to but the awesome instrumentation. And it made me think back on the rest of the album, and I had very little problems with the instrumentation of it. It's often when the songwriting part came in, and it's the singing and the choruses and shit, that's where it kind of got weaker. And it became perfect without him singing on it. And I'm like, that's fucking strange. That hasn't happened yet on an album before. And I stand by it. It's a fucking 10. It's the best thing I heard in the entire ride, even including the next one.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have to go ahead and... it was really good. It was really solid. Like, totally, you could imagine driving to this. Or
it's
like,
great, man. Calms you right down.
know, just like making babies to it. You know, like, it's good music. I'm going to have to go ahead and give it... fuck, I was going to give it an 8, but I'll give it a 9. It's
Fair enough, man. It's solid. I don't have a lot more to say. I mean, it's fucking instrumental.
No,
with,
but go listen to it. It's good. It's good. You can
It's-
definitely fall asleep
like
to it.
if you're not interested
know,
in
it's just-
songs with singing, and I know a lot of people I work with, they like ambient shit without vocals. This is the song for your playlist that you've been missing, and it's gonna be a nice break from the EDM that you're probably bumping. So anyway, let's get on to the last one. It's Throw Out the Map.
I want a new design. I need to shed my skin. Where do we go from here, man?
Okay, we're back, and this song was cool.
Yeah, it was good, well-rounded songs. A good, well-rounded song, rather. Definitely has like that old, like punky thrash kind of,
Yeah,
like
man.
that fuzz. They definitely.
And it was
up the-
fucking
up the
alive
chorus.
compared to a lot of this album. It really feels alive. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have any of the dread, the despair, the hopelessness that he's kind of played with the rest of this album. That's where I kind of started to see a bit of a concept forming, right?
It's a bit of a sense of the Pixies.
But just look at what the song's about, right? So throw out the map, and he's saying get rid of the conventional way of living, kind of like fuck it all, do you, just achieve.
That's a metaphor right there.
It's cheesy. He's fucking not quite so young and insightful per se, but if you look at it, and he has this hopeless fucking story of different emotions he's been running through on these songs to get to this epiphany after, taking this instrumental off through this fucking forest of sound and then coming to this epiphany that he's just gonna go ahead and do his own thing, because that's always, whatever. To me, it just kind of felt like a fitting end to this album, like a more positive note than a lot of what's happened in it.
Definitely catchy, and it's definitely easy to follow along, and it's entertaining, and it's gonna stick to your head.
Yeah, it's fucking great. I liked it. I think it's an earworm of sorts. The more I hear
Definitely.
it, I give it a 9. I thought it was a good tune. I could hear it again. It would make me feel better to hear this song. And a couple of them gave me that, and I have to give Incubus credit, because not a lot of songs just make me just feel better hearing them. So good on you.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more entertaining songs on the album, and a good closer.
Yeah.
I'd have to go ahead. I'd give it 8 wee babies.
All right, and like I said, 9, and I don't have a lot more to add except that this one is alive, more dynamic. So that's the end of
I mean, if you're the type of person that likes Incubus, then you'll like this. It's Incubus. It
Pretty
doesn't
standard.
deviate too far from the normal sound. It's not like
I would say that this last song is kind of what I was expecting more of when I came to this album in the first place.
oh yeah, this song definitely stands. It's not the typical Incubus stuff you're used to hearing. But if you're a fan of their earlier work, then this is definitely gonna go right in there with it. I mean, you'd easily slip any of these songs, not any of them, but a good majority of these songs, you could slip them into a playlist and not have no idea what Incubus album they're from. And there's no unique sound to this album. So
But
if you really like that old sound that they have, that's I mean, they're definitely staying true to that.
So like as an album, I felt it was like, look, it's like that. If you like Incubus, it's worth listening to. If you don't like Incubus, there's like 2 or 3 songs you're gonna really feel, and it might not really be worth your time to delve into this album for real. But if you do like it, go for it. If you hear a single, that's it. That's the one you're gonna like. Don't worry. You don't have to hunt further. Is my overall feeling. Around the numbers, it was like 7.7, which is really because the ones that are good, and the ones that are shit, and it kind of felt like that the whole way through. I don't think this is the greatest album for anybody to get into Incubus on, and
No, in fact, I'd go as far as to say I don't think this is gonna be very memorable at all.
no, in fact, I doubt I'm gonna. I was gonna just
Unless-
about to say,
You watch that Disney movie.
oh man, or the music video with the cat heads. That
Car
was
7,
fucking
ladies
something.
and gentlemen, it's gonna be
Yeah.
rolling during the opening credits.
So yeah, unfortunately, this is one of the weakest albums I think we've touched so far, and that's okay.
Except for Ed Sheeran.
No, Ed Sheeran tried harder than Incubus did, objectively. That's it, man. I guess next week we'll come back with some new album. I don't think we've decided yet. We're gonna check it out, and it's been a pleasure having y'all. And comment, like, subscribe, share, all that shit, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.
Yep. Have a great week, everyone.